it's also, that is important because of where these fit in the traditional purchase funnel. I think the two most powerful stats here, 9 out of 10 people take action as a result of a smartphone search. I think that's a great stat, but it's not that surprising. I think what is that almost 70% after they search will then visit the business. So that's, an actual conversion of getting people in store. And 53% will actually purchase. So half of people are getting the ultimate conversion of purchasing your product after a smartphone search. And if you consider 9 out of 10 people are searching, that's a huge number. So a question we get a lot in regards to search and kind of how to use mobile search and different ways of going about it are, should I build an app? Should I build a site? And the answer we typically give is it's important to consider both and figure out what makes the most sense for your business, because the growth patterns of both are very similar. They're both growing very fast, about 63%. I think this was year on year. But if you look at the column on the right, they're both very similar numbers. So people are still using apps versus the mobile web, very similarly. Some people will say, one is dead, it's all about apps. Some people say it's all about sites. I don't think the market and the consumers have figured out which one is better. And I don't think there necessarily needs to be one that wins here. So again, the takeaway for your businesses is make sure you're considering both and work with your marketing partners to figure out which one you want to maybe enter market with first and which ones you want to focus on. At the end of the day, though, we are Google and we are in search, and the numbers kind of back up that people are searching on their phones a lot. I'll go back to the previous slide real quick. Search is the most popular browser usage on mobile, and 82% of smartphone users have actually used a browser, so that means a lot of people searching. The numbers that Jeannie and Kelly have referenced have already kind of backed this up. But 71% people search because they've had a stimulus and they've had an ad. This is not news. This is first moment of truth. This has been going on for many, many years. But that stimulus is more often than not now coming from non-traditional means, or it's coming from non-traditional means a lot more. So you have to kind of be ready to be in that space. So a couple examples of kind of new stimuluses that we've seen that are kind of best in class. And these both come from, actually no, one's finance and one's retail. Are you familiar with Shazam? Does anyone know Shazam? Who wants to help me out and explain what Shazam is? Who's brave? She's brave. You have to use your big voice. See, that's why I like to farm out my questions, because she did a much better job of answering that than I could even explain Shazam. Everyone heard that? Shazam basically allows you to pull up your phone when there's music and it'll tell you what it is. It's actually pretty magical. So these two campaigns both kind of leveraged this app in conjunction with traditional media and then served it onto the mobile platform. So very cool. So Progressive, they had one of their, let's be honest, it's an annoying commercial, but it really works for brand recall, so it works for them. They had their commercial, it had their jingle, and it said on the TV, and this is a YouTube example, but on both it said, put up your Shazam now. And when you did that, it drove you to the download page for that song, and it gave you a free download from Progressive. So that's fantastic. Not everyone has Progressive dollars. So Old Navy did something as well when there was the Old Navy jingle. They also drove you to the Shazam page, and it was branded with Old Navy. But the nice thing is that both of these things also then drove to a really nice mobile site. We're going to go into mobile sites a little more, but just by looking at these, you can tell these are mobile optimized. They're very clear, even on this little presentation screen. You can probably read them, which is nice. And you can see they're optimized for mobile that you can scroll up and down. We're going to go more into that, but these were some a pretty cool example of kind of leveraging a very, very popular app on your phone and putting it together with traditional media. Both these campaigns were huge successes. If you guys Google these campaigns or Shazam campaigns, you'll see some interesting information about it, but just kind of a best-in-class example of how to go about integrating different platforms. So now we're going to get to our David Letterman part of the presentation. I think this is probably what a lot of you guys came for, which are kind of some best practices. Like Jeannie said, we're going to keep these high level because there's lots of different consumers in the room, lots of different industries, but all of these can be applied to your industry. So we're going to go back and forth. Hopefully it doesn't get too annoying.
Don't get dizzy.
Don't get dizzy.
Wait, I have a question actually before we get started. How many here are actually running mobile search? Wow, just 3 people. And how many of you have a mobile website or a mobile landing page? Okay, so a lot more. Mobile landing page, how many? Okay, and a mobile website? Okay, most people know the difference between a mobile landing page and a mobile website. No? Maybe we can mention that too when we go through these. So, all right, top 10. So first thing, and Kelly did a great job of explaining this in her presentation. Great job overall. Lots of good information. But understanding your mobile traffic, it is vital to have those analytics. You can't run a campaign and not know what your consumers are doing. And so we want to be able to know what devices, what carriers, what is their behavior. If you have a mobile website, what are they doing when they get to that mobile website? Because you want to be able to prioritize that content. And so without that information, it's going to be really hard to then say, okay, where do we go in the future with this? How do we grow our business on mobile? So whether you have, of course, you can have conversion tracking with Google. We have Google Analytics for mobile. But it doesn't have to be either one of those. As long as you have your own solution, it's vital to the success.
So number 2, I'm going to bust out my silly voice. We've talked about mobile sites. Number 2 is basically try and build a good mobile experience as soon as possible. And actually, out of this room, you guys are doing better on average than the industry, like the marketing world as a whole. I think I'd guess about 25% of the folks in this room raised their hand when they said either they had a mobile landing page or a mobile website. Yeah. That's better than the average. We did a survey of by I think our top 500 customers, and we found that 79% do not have a mobile site. Basically 4 out of 5. So that's bad. And it's bad also because you would think that people would expect their desktop to work better than their mobile devices, but it's actually not the case anymore. There are various surveys that show that folks expect their mobile devices to work and perform better than desktop. And 61% of users are actually unlikely to return to a mobile site they've had trouble with, and 40% will go to a competitor's site. So that's basically saying that if you don't have a good mobile experience, you're more likely to lose brand affinity on mobile than you will on desktop. Now you might be thinking, that's a little unfair. Mobile's just coming out, basically. And that's true, but it's adopting so quickly. And again, it's such a personal, kind of intimate device that knows all your information. You always have it on you. That consumers are expecting you as an advertiser to give them the information they want in a very clean way right now. So we have some best practices for building a mobile site. I'm not going to read these off. You can read these. I would give a plug out to a new Google program called How to Go Mo. You can go to the website. It's How to Go Mo, G-O-M-O.
Just launched today.
Just launched today, actually. It's basically a bunch of tools that are all free and all easy to use that allow you as an advertiser to build a mobile site, either a mobile landing page or a more deep site, and allows you to capture this consumer and give them a good experience. It has all of these tips. It walks you through a bunch of other design ideas, and links. And it actually has a tool to actually build the site for you. And again, free of charge. So I'd encourage you to check that out and start to think about, how you can move to that mobile site or mobile landing page if you haven't already. Again, it's howtogomo.com. And I hope you enjoy that.
So now you have no excuse not to have at least a mobile landing page. So number 3, so think separate mobile campaigns. So a lot of our advertisers have hybrid campaigns. And what that means is they have one campaign and it's targeted to mobile, tablet, and desktop. And the reason we don't like that is because you have no control. You're not able to look at that medium, look at the behavior, and then react to it. And you have no control over your budgets. So you're budgeting for desktop, the budgets on and controls and bids on mobile are much different than they are on desktop. As well as creative. We talked a little bit about, I think actually Kelly mentioned that earlier, about being very specific about your words. So, being able to either talk about that you're on a tablet device, you're on a mobile device, and Matt will get into that a little bit later. Going back to the hybrid, just to give you an example, so if you have your desktop, mobile, and tablet all in one campaign, and you have your destination URL going to your desktop, what does that do for your mobile consumers? You're getting them right back into that position where you don't want them. You don't want them to go, sorry. You don't want them to get frustrated. They go there, they go to the desktop experience. They don't want that. They want a mobile optimized experience. So be sure if you do get into the mobile advertising space or you want to try it out, do a mobile-only campaign.
Number 4. You kind of stole my thunder on this one.
Oh, sorry.
But like Jeannie said, separating out mobile campaigns for search is critical. I think the best way to think about it is if you don't separate them out, you don't have clean data because you're basically mixing together all your desktop and your mobile information, and it doesn't allow you to optimize at all, basically. We've already shown how different mobile and desktop are and how consumers are using them. And if you don't separate your campaigns, you can't really mine that data, which is the power of Google, essentially. So part of that is if you do separate them out, you can look at your specific ad copy, and just something as simple as changing something like shop today in terms of ad copy to shop today from your phone, or shop today from your Android phone, or call today for a free quote on your iPhone. This is a simple change, right? But for a large advertiser like the Intercontinental Group, when they did this, they saw a 91% year-on-year increase in their click-through rates. And we did a vertical study on a CPG vertical of customers that had mobile-specific ad copy versus normal ad copy. And the ones that had gone mobile-specific had a 950% increase in click-through rate, which is huge. And this is really low-hanging fruit. I mean, it's not hard to do this. You basically just go into the system, change the copy, very easy to implement, and very big, gains. But again, you can't do this unless you separate out your campaigns and you can have that clean data so you can see what's working.
Right. Okay.
Oh, you got your own. Sorry.
That's all right. So think local. So we just came out with this. 40% of our searches have local intent. Again, no surprise, right? You're walking down the street, you see something, or hey, I've got to make a reservation. So when we look at this case study here, Roy's, they did a mobile only, like I was stressing that mobile only campaign, and they drove 40% increase in calls, and then their CPCs went down 67%. So actually, that's really common when we see people that they break out their mobile campaigns from their desktop. Typically, their click-through rates go up and their CPCs go down. It's not for everybody, but I would say that more than half of our customers, that's the case. So very important to think about your local business.